these guys have embodied what's going on in the back of our warm-ups. And one thing about it, last year, I tried to create an identity, but one thing I've learned was the coach can kind of facilitate that, but your team has to own that identity. And this year, the guys that I have, they have owned the identity and what's going on in the back of our warm-ups.
Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. Today we're joined by the head men's basketball coach at Rochester Institute of Technology, Dominic Parker. Coach Parker enters his second season at RIT, bringing over a decade of coaching experience across NCAA Divisions 1, 2, and 3, and the NJCAA. Before RIT, he arrived from Christopher Newport University, where he helped lead the Captains to a 24-7 record, an NCAA Division III tournament quarterfinals appearance, and a third straight C2C championship in 2003-2004. Coach Parker previously contributed to CNU's 2019 Final Four run and was honored on the NABC Under Armour 30 Under 30 team. His coaching resume also includes successful stops at Guilford, Maryland Eastern Shore, Shenandoah, and NJCAA National Champion Richard Bland College. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at JAMODI Podcast. The JAMODI Podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. Well, man, thank you so much for jumping on, talking hoops with me. And you and I, this is, I believe, a social media connection, but the basketball world, I love how small it is. You get to meet people from all over. So thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me, man. It's, I was listening to you and I think Chris Creeder's stuff, and
Yeah.
I watched it, and so yeah, I followed you, and then you hit me up, and it's perfect. It's great.
Yeah, that's been the really fun part of this is so Chris Kreider from Houston. We've had connections a little bit down in this area. He was at SMU for a little while, but every time that I put out a hoops talk like this, and I just different people from across the country are listening, and then when a coach like you does follow, to me it's like, man, I'm honored that you would listen, and why not get you on yourself? So I'm glad you did.
No, for sure, man. I enjoy these things, and one thing about me, I'm an open book. So just if I could help somebody, or if someone can help me, I'm an open
Yeah.
book for that.
I feel the same way, and I love that about, I think, the basketball community, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. I think COVID maybe, was a big
Yes.
driver for us doing things online, us talking to each other. We used to go to clinics, which are still great, but go to clinics, but you'd hear one person and you didn't have a lot of interaction. And then COVID hit, we're all forced to stay at home. And all of a sudden you realize, man, you're in, is it New York? Where are you?
Yeah, Rochester, New York. Yep.
Yeah, and you're in New York, and you and I get to have this talk like we're in the same office. So I completely agree, and I love how people are willing to share. I think that's part of our duty is to give back, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. That's my high school coach gave back to me. My college coach gave back to me, so I'm trying to just do the same.
Yeah, I think a lot of us that are in this profession now, it's most likely because we had a coach that inspired us to want to do this. Did you play back in the day?
I did. So I played at Ravenscroft Schools, a private school in North Carolina. That's where I'm from. Yeah, I played for Kevin Billerman. He played at Duke. He's a well-known coach in North Carolina. He believed in me, instilled some stuff into me. And ultimately, I was good enough. I got a scholarship. I went and played at LMU for Coach Josh Schertz, who's now the head coach at St. Louis. So I was part of his first recruiting class back when he was a D2 head coach. So, I owe him a lot to, give me an opportunity. And my mom got sick, so I transferred to Virginia State my last 2 years. And it wasn't because I didn't like LMU, it was because, I didn't know my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. My dad didn't really want to travel because North Carolina to Tennessee at the time was like 7-8 hours. The family move, and went to Virginia State, finished my career there, and got to coaching.
Overall, good move for you, making that change from LMU there.
You know what, man? It was a good move for where I am at now because I went from LMU where we was a really good program, up and coming. I got to be around a high level program and I transferred to Virginia State. My junior year, we got the record for most losses in a row. We lost 13 in a row. So for me being a coach now, I've been on really good teams and I've been on a team that was struggling. So like now as a
Mm.
coach, I can see those characteristics of like, okay, this is some losing characteristics. You know what I mean? Like when I was at Virginia State, some of my teammates were like, man, I don't even know why we practicing. We're gonna get killed. But like they didn't believe in the head coaches. The coach, like I can kind of weed that stuff out pretty quickly.
That's interesting perspective, and I haven't really thought about that, how possibly some of those losing seasons that we endured as players, how those can shape you. I think we tend to think of the best teams or the better teams we were on. Like my senior year in high school, we were second in state in Texas at the largest classification, and I had 2 future NBA players in Darren Williams and a guy named Bracy Wright that were younger than me. I mean, that team was really good. I tend to tell stories from that team, but yet you're right on the money. We're all gonna, as coaches, most likely, if you do this long enough, you're gonna have a season where the talent just isn't there or injuries. You know what? Right now, as we're talking, the Ravens are playing the Chiefs, and the Ravens have 6 starters on defense that are out right now. And, it's like sometimes even in the pros, that happens. And you know what? Those backups, they're not as good as the
Yeah.
starters are, and the Chiefs are making it look like that right now. And but my senior year at Baylor, we only had 6 scholarship players and a lot went through a lot of turmoil. But I don't really use that story very much, or I need to make sure that the lessons I learned that year, I'm thinking about with this team that I have or future teams. I think that's a good point.
Yep. Nah, definitely, man. Even being an assistant coach, like I've coached in the Final Four, I've coached the Sweet 16, Elite Eight. I've also coached a team that only won 6 games in the season. So, like, when I really think back and go back, like that 6 year, that year we won 6 games was very similar to when I played at Virginia State. Kind of the mindset of some of the guys, like you start
Mm,
losing and everybody just, I could do what he does, and they
yeah.
start pointing the finger. So, yeah. So it's one thing I tell people, man. It's challenging to win. Because if it was easy, everybody would be winning.
No doubt, no doubt. And when you're winning, I've heard coaches say this, it's the best deodorant out there. Sometimes it just masks how dysfunctional culture can be and relationships can be. Losing is really when you know, okay, what kind of character kids do we have? What kind of character do I have as a coach? Because every coach is pretty happy and excited about their team and the way that they're working and the way the culture is when you're winning. But can you say the same thing when you're losing? I think that's probably the mark of a great dynamic culture is during those hard times, you don't have those things that you just mentioned, the pointing of the fingers, getting in small groups and talking about how the vision that coach has laid out for this team isn't the right one. Maybe we learn even more about our teams through those times.
No, for 100%, 100%. I know, like I said, I've been coaching. I think this is going into my 12th or 13th year, and like it's funny that when I really think about it, like people will always refer to the Final Four team when I was coaching at Christopher Newport, but honestly, like the most lessons that I've really learned as a coach was those teams that didn't win a ton. Because for me, I was like, I
Mm,
don't want to go through that again. So, we don't need to do this. We don't need
yeah.
to do that. So it's unique. It's unique when you can look back at things like that happen, and kind of don't want that to happen for the futures.
So 13 or 14 years of college experience, like you said, man, being at that level, I would imagine you have some daily habits that set you up for success. So what's that day look like?
Yeah, one thing about me, man, I'm a early riser. Even when I was playing, I would get up early and go attempt to lift weights and go get up shots and stuff like that. So, one thing about it is just being disciplined into doing those things. Cause I feel like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So for me, I'm real big on like if I have to get up early and go work out, that's to start my day. Then when I get home, depending on what I got going on with my family, but I like to kind of, meditate or pray. And then also too, just you know, that family time. One thing about me, man, I got a young family. I've been married 2 years. I got a 16-month-old. So I've seen a lot of people
Oh,
who
nice.
lose, thank you. So it's a lot of people I've seen who they don't have their families no more because of this. And for me, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Like I'm a basketball coach and I love it. It's my purpose. I feel like God's put me here for that, but also too, God has made me a husband and made me a father as well. So I got to give my wife and my daughter the same level of attention that I do my players. So, I'm real big on being all in is what I say it, like I'm gonna be all in as a basketball coach, but I'm gonna be all into my family. So if you got people that got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, like, you can't give your all, and I try to every day I just try to get 1% better. So I think the discipline thing is key. If I have a late night, watch a film, I gotta be disciplined enough to get up early, do my same routine. And that's like I said, if how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I think that's something that I try to do every day. And even with my players, I try to be there for them, being a listening ear. I mean, one thing about RIT, one of the top academic schools in the country, the academics is challenging, so sometimes my guys come in my office, we don't even talk basketball. We talk about this big test that they have, this big presentation, just trying to take some stress off them, to lift them up, to kind of give them, a little bit more encouragement to do well. Cause, like I said, the academics here is very rich and it's very challenging.
Man, I love that mentality that you have about how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's convicting for me when I think about my attitude toward doing the dishes. I don't have my wife, if she can hear, she's probably laughing. I don't have a championship mindset toward doing that, but that is like, look at our lives and we need to look and see where are the inconsistencies. Where is like the message that you're telling your team, where in your life or my life is that not showing up? Because as Mono Watts has said, more is caught than taught. And so by you having those habits and that discipline, I feel like that's teaching your players even more than any great nugget or any video that you can show or a great speech. Man, it's by our lives, right?
For sure, for sure. I mean, I think that's everything with a team. I won a national championship. I was at my first job I received was at Richard Brand College. It's a Division II JUCO, and we had, I think, two guys that ended up going Division I, and a lot of other guys went Division II. But when we went out to the national tournament, I mean, it was teams that were better than us, but we was just the most disciplined. We played for each other.
Right.
We shared the ball. We didn't care who scored what. And JUCO's different because, guys are trying to like get seen and get offers and stuff. It's kind of similar to AAU in a sense, but like we had
Yeah.
guys who they didn't care about it. In my second year coaching, I won a national championship as an assistant coach. And that's the one thing that they taught me was, like they had incredible confidence in themselves and it was incredibly disciplined and discipline for each other. And I think that really helped us win a national championship. And one thing about they didn't care about they didn't care who got like the benefits of everything. They knew like, they would tell me, say, coach, like, can we become a 4 year? Like I wouldn't leave. They loved each other. Like
It's a good
they like
sign
even
right there.
it's a great sign, and it's funny that I brought it up, but like the 10-year anniversary of that was actually last year, and getting those guys back, and they just said, man, that's something that they gonna always remember, and they just was like, they were very disciplined, and then it got to the point that like my head coach at the time, Chuck Moore, he was so disciplined on them, and it's a funny story. So we went out recruiting. We always tell the guys like if you come to practice 10 minutes late, like you can't practice. So we was recruiting this kid and went in overtime. We didn't want to leave, so we got to practice late, right? And the guys were gone. And we're like, where y'all at? They was like, coach, you was late. Y'all was late. Like, but like, it's a truthful, like now I'm looking back on it. It's like, you know what? Like, you're right. Like we were late, you know what I mean? So like y'all holding us to that standard too, so it was unique. And like I said, my old boss, Chuck Moore, who's the AD I think he's the AD at Tallahassee Community College now. And, he talked about, that was a funny story that, we try to instill that into our guys and they did. And then, and they switched back on us one day. So
Yeah. That's funny. And I was wondering about the mentality that that team had, because you're right. At JUCO, you do have that really unique scenario where every player has their own motives, dreams, and path that they're on. And then as a coach, you're trying to get it fit. You're trying to have that also fit into the team scheme and how you want the group to function. High school's similar. I mean, you have different guys with different motivations for playing. Some don't want to play in college. They just want to be a part of something special, and there's different ways they fit in. Other guys have the path that they want to play. They want to play after high school. So obviously their stats, their film, like that's really important. So I think we're always trying to balance those two tracks. You've got what the team needs and wants and what individuals need and want. How did you create that type of environment with those guys that year where even at that level, they were selfless and they were more about the team, even though they had aspirations themselves?
I think for us, what we did was we wanted to show them the big picture, and the big picture was that if we win, everybody will win, and that's the message we gave them. The guys bought into that, and I can honestly say I think we had 13 or 14 guys on that team. Two guys signed Division I scholarships. The other guys signed Division II scholarships, and we had one guy who went Division III. Who, when you win, you get new jobs. So I got a new job, and I actually brought him with me to my next job. So like all 14 guys we had all went and played college ball, and that was the goal. Guys wanted to go play college ball, and most of them got to receive athletic money, which that's the goal. And they bought into each other. They bought into the process. And the one big thing I would say, they loved each other. We won a national championship, and it was awesome. But then a lot of guys knew like this was it. This was it with that group, and they didn't want to give that up. I mean, it was when these guys graduated, man. Like it was, they was crying. It was tears of joy, but also it was like, man, like this was. I love this. Like they wanted to make Richard Bland a 4-year school. It was like, Coach, we're good enough. We just won a national championship. Like you can't go to administration and get them. We're like, man, we can't. That's above our pay grade, But those guys they bought into each other, which I think is very key.
Got to imagine a lot of that has to do too with the culture or standards that your program had. And I don't think it's just one activity that can do that, but is there something that you did with that team or even with your teams now that you think, man, when we do this activity, this meeting, it kind of sets us on that path every year. And it can be something small that you do again and again, or even a bigger activity.
Yeah, I think, one thing what I've learned is every team is different, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
for us here at RIT, what I've done is I have pillars, right? That I live my life by. So year one, which was last year, those three pillars is basically was gratitude, unity, and preparation. So the activity that I had for the guys for last year was I wanted them to add another pillar. So what I did was I grouped them in different groups with guys that they don't normally talk to, like not guys from their class, like it was their guys that they don't normally talk to. And they basically had to talk, this generation, like it's funny. Like I call the kid to recruit him. He'll text me back, "What's up, coach?" I'm like, "Man, I called you," So I, I made my guys kind of talk to each other. And then I had a little team get together at my house, and we ate a good meal, and then we also the guys presented the pillar, and we had to vote on it. So last year, that pillar was purpose. So we have 4 pillars now in the program, which is gratitude, unity, preparation, and purpose, and that's something that they did. So fast forward, and last year's over with. So now I brought in 8 new guys to this, to year 2 of me being here. And the other activity that I did this year was something similar. I had them over to my house, put them in groups. And now this year is I want them to put something on the back of our warm-ups. And the thing that's going on the back of our warm-ups is going to basically be like our motto or like what we're about, right? And to be totally honest with you, these guys that I have now have done a great job. I don't want to spoil it and say what they put on it, but
Don't spoil it. Yeah.
these guys have embodied what's going on the back of our warm-ups. And one thing about it, last year I tried to create an identity, but one thing I've learned was the coach can kind of facilitate that, but your team has to own that identity. And this year, the guys that I have, they have owned the identity and what's going on the back of our warm-ups. People are going to look at it and be like, what? What is that? What does that mean? You know, but to us, like it's a lot bigger than what it's going to be on the back of our warm-ups. And for me, it's just culture building, and also too is getting my team to like, so now when stuff happens, I'm gonna be like, look, this is what we put on the back of our warm-ups. We're not playing to that standard. This is what y'all guys wanted. So like, it's not coming from me. It's like, you guys wanted this. And I think that's something that I've done. And, I've worked for really good, bosses. I worked for Coach John Cocoyne at CNU. He's won a national championship. He's won a ton of games. I worked for Tom Palumbo, who was a longtime head coach at Guilford College. He won over 600 games, I believe, who's now the associate head coach at Longwood. And, the one thing about it is there's nothing cookie cutter about what activity work. Certain activities work, but like it's all
Right.
based on the type of team that you have, and also too the type of team you want to create. So like next year 3, we might do something totally different. But I'm hoping that like the standard from this year can move on. So then later down the line, if I'm blessed enough to stay here for long periods of time, like these guys will come back. I'm like, look, we started this. Like this is RIT's theme. This is our slogan. This is what we're about. So I think that's something that I've learned over the years, and just having good bosses and, picking their brains with different things like that. And like I said, I'm a student of the game. This past week, I went down, one of my good friends is the head coach at Longwood, and I went down and sat with him, and we just talked about different things that he was doing. I'm like, dang, that's unique. That like that's something I could bring to my practices and my huddles and stuff like that. So I think it's coaching is all it's all copycat, man. And it's like, you got to try different things. Like, oh, this works. Like we're gonna ride with this. So I think it's very unique. You also too got to understand who your kids are and how and what your kids are about. For me, recruiting a class of 8, I got to know what these kids are about, what their family's about, what makes them. So for me, I got 9 returners and 8 new guys, and like just trying to, bring them together. And I think I've done a decent job. Me and my staff have done a solid job at that. I'm happy to see kind of, how that works. Cause we had 2 weeks of practice. It's been really well. So we're just, like I keep telling them, that we just got to keep building.
Man, I love that. And thank you for sharing what your standards are: love, gratitude, unity, and preparation. And then the fact that you leave that fourth one, you left it up to them. It just made me think of Bruce Brown with proactive coaching. They do a phenomenal job. They have proactive coaching. They have so many materials out there that are free for coaches to look at. But Bruce Brown, an amazing coach, like a long history of success. He talked about that too. There was 3 that he had that were, like, very important to him, and because there is this idea that players will come and go, but like you said, if we're blessed enough to stay at one place for a long time, we will remain. Well, you don't want your culture just to continue to reset or revamp completely every year, so there's a part of the culture that is us. It's our standards, what we believe, like gratitude, unity, preparation. These are really important, and then he said, but the 4th one, he would allow his players to choose. And I borrowed that from him, and like you said, nothing is new out there, but there's a science to this game, maybe with your X's and O's and analytics and what you're looking for based on your players, but then there's an art to it too, and the art is the part that really gets me excited of we get to choose the things that we try to do with our teams and see what works, what doesn't works, and then you change it up as you go. But I used to be the guy, coach, that would, oh, I love that acronym right there. Oh, hey guys, our culture's that. Those 6 words, I'm going to cram this down your throat and you will live it out no matter if you like it or not. And then I was amazed at how, man, they don't really seem to be bought into it. You're right on the money. Give them ownership. We facilitate it. I wrote that down. I think that's a great way to look at it. We facilitate them building it, but ultimately they will have more buy-in if they're owning it, right?
100%.
Love that. Love that. If you had to choose 3 characteristics of great coaches, because you've mentioned some that have been very important in your life, what would those be?
I think discipline, hardworking, and adaptability. I think those are 3 traits, especially with this generation. It's different. Coach Shirts at LMU, who's now at St. Louis, who coached me, I guarantee he's totally different than when he was with us, 10, 12 years ago and now, just because, the landscape of college basketball has changed, the kids have changed. But I think if you have a coach that's disciplined, who's teaching that and putting that in his program, like discipline can take you far, right? You have to be hardworking, right? Because it's just like Kobe. I'm a big Kobe guy, right? He was very talented. He's one of the best players of all time, but his mentality of hard work is just like the harder you work, the easier things will be, and things will come to you a little easier. And then just being able, and then the last one is just adapting, right? It's just these kids are different, So like I look at Coach K, right? Coach K at Duke, he recruited a certain type of kid for a long time. And then it went to one and dones. And then he was recruiting, guys like Brandon Ingram and, different guys that, wouldn't necessarily fit the Duke mode, but like he had to adapt. And then also too, like Coach K, from what I was told, because my high school teammate, Ryan Kelly, played for him, wasn't a big fan of zone. But his last couple of years, he was playing zone. He had a good team for it. So, like, I think Coach K said it best, too, is just, adapt or die. Like, a lot of coaches kind of stay like, hey, look, this is what we're going to be about. But, like, of course, have your standards. But also, too, like, these kids, like, you might have to bend them a little bit to get the best out of them. So, I think those are three characteristics that I try to have, and the coaches that I look up to have that as well. And I think those are three things that can help you.
You nailed it with adaptability right there. And great example of Coach K, his ability to win different ways with different types of players, with the guys that were there for 4 years that will never play in the NBA, then with the one and doneers that just you could see their talent and you knew you're only going to have them for 1 year, and then also the style of play. Like he was just a great example of you're never too good or too set in your ways, or we can't be, to change and to adapt. What does it take though? As I feel like I'm probably, unfortunately, I'm in the mode of this is how we're going to play and you guys figure it out. I feel like I'm that person sometimes. How do you gain that adaptability over time?
I think honestly, you gotta trust your gut, right? And I'm gonna be honest, as a head coach, I've only won 7 games. Last year we was 7-18. It was year one, we was building. But honestly, what I wanted to do with that group, I don't know if they would have bought into it. So I had to kind of
Mm,
morph. I kind of had to morph what we did. We played really fast. We played a really, really fast tempo. And, I'm real big on defending and rebounding. When I got my guys that I inherited last year, and I love them to death, like, I'm like, man, I don't know if we'll be able to defend at the level that I want, So for me, it was like, you know what? I tried to make a system that was like, because I had a bunch of guys that wanted to score, right? And I had some good scores. I mean, I inherited 2 guys who were all league coming back, the average double digits. I had 2 really good big guys. And I knew it was going to be challenging to get them to want to play defense, to the level that I wanted. And like, in D3, it's not like, Division 1 when I got a summer with them. I got them in summer school and you can start doing that stuff then. So October 15th was the day, and I got a month until we play a game. So I think what I
yeah.
did is just, I morphed the offense, and I think we was tied for first in points per game. And like the guys hung their hat on that, I told them when it got to the end of the season, I said, look, man, let's go try to score 100. Only bad thing was, teams were scoring 105, we were scoring 100. So it was giving up too much points. But, I think just trying to adapt into them, and now year 2, and I got a year of recruiting under my belt. So like now I've recruited guys that fit the style that I want, that, we're going to be this defending and rebounding team. And, I mean, my assistant coaches said it's night and day, with the defense. I said, but
Mm,
like we got kids who come from good programs who understand defense and gap help and all this type of stuff. So, it helps us in coaching and teaching it, because a lot of the guys that we recruited, they did it in high school or at their last college. So it helps with that. So I think just adapting to that, and I think me playing fast, I think, honestly, if I would have played the way that I wanted to play, I probably would have won 3 games, but me playing, you know, fast and, let's try to score and get it down as fast as we can and score. I think that helped us. We won 7 games, which isn't great, but year
mm.
2 will be a lot better. So
Now, I wanted to ask you about that because I'm going into year one at a new school down in Waco, Texas at Midway. And I love the kids that I've inherited here. But I'm learning more and more about them every day. And I've watched a little bit of film on our district opponents from last year, but I haven't seen them live. Like I'm going into a lot of unknowns where I do think we can be successful regardless of our record. And a lot of that has to do with the way we treat each other, how coachable they are. Do we keep improving throughout the year? Which it sounds like last year that's how you felt. And part of it was your adaptability that you had. But like you said, outwardly 7-18. How do you build that to year two? Where I think it'd be honest, maybe a little bit easier if it was 18-7 to grab that momentum and build it. How do you take that? I'm not saying that that's where I'm gonna be. I don't know, but there's always a chance. So, what's year 2? How are you building momentum off of a year that was tough?
Yeah, it's perfect from the standpoint like I had my underclassmen last year, the last game of the season. We lost. And was we didn't win. I wouldn't say last year was like a failure. We just didn't win like we wanted.
Right.
But I'm switching the culture into what we're about. The one thing that I will say that the big thing that I can take from year one is like my underclassmen was like, Coach, we're not going out like this like next year. Like next year, we're not going out like this. So I was just like, okay, good. They meant it when they told me that, right? And then the guys that I'm recruiting, every Sunday, was a day off for me. I would call my recruits that was committed and I would give them what was going on in the program. So it was kind of like they
Uh,
were there. So now, fast forward when they get to here in August, my freshmen and my transfers are like, they understand what we went through. And they're like, hey, look, like we're gonna play with a sense of pride, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then my returners, they're hungry. They're like, Coach, like we're gonna show these guys that like we ain't the bottom of the barrel, like, people may think. So like those two entities coming together, meshing into one, like you can see it's night and day in terms of practice and what we're about. Like my wife, she's a coach as well. She came to practice for the first time the other night and she looked at me when we got home. She's like, Dom, like you guys are a lot better. And I just said it's because of the mentality has changed, like, and these guys are playing with purpose, and they're trying to, they're trying to take what they deserve. And I think that's one thing that I really wanted to build on that. And I think my returners, they really did a good job of like saying, all right, you know how it is when you bring in new kids from college, right? It's like, oh, this guy's gonna take my spot. They were like, no, these guys are here to help us, like to get to where we want to
yeah.
get to, So I think where we are right now, of course, we got a long way to go. We turn the ball over way too much, but like the mentality and the psyche of the group is right where it needs to be. And I think that's half the battle is just getting that mentality on the same page.
And I think that really helped me, what you just said is because the way obviously I'm not dealing with recruits, but I'm dealing with seniors that have had different coaches over the years, and now I'm their last one, and they have an idea of what they want their senior year to go, and I wanna honor that, and I wanna help them to feel really, really good about how they finished. But then I have these underclassmen that are hungry, are newer, like they only know me, or they'll know this way of playing or this mentality, this culture for years and years that I'm gonna try to continue to speak life into and talk about how this will grow no matter what we're doing this year. If the outward success or not, what we're building right now will be better and better and better at it from year for year to year so that they kind of keep seeing the vision. Because what I don't want to do is it just all rest on how this year goes. My wife is kind of reminding me day to day, you're building something for the future with our freshmen, with our sophomores, with our juniors. But I think you nailed it, man. I think I needed to hear that, like a way that I can get the seniors and our underclassmen, me fueling or speaking life into both groups.
100%. And I'll just piggyback from, so when I was at Christopher Newport, in my opinion, top 5 program in the country, and Coach Kokorian, who we call Coach K, he's been there for 14 years. And of course it didn't start like that. But the one thing I will say is like when I got there, the culture was in a great spot. And like, if something wasn't right, like, and this is how I knew we was like different. I've never seen this in my life. So we came out to practice one day and it was just bad. It was really bad. And our senior leader, his name is Marcus Carter, who was an All-American. He said, "Coach, kick us out." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Coach, kick us out. We're not ready." And I'm like, "Why?" And then for me, I'm like, I'm an assistant. I'm like, "Man, I got something to do tonight. Like, I ain't trying to come back." But he was like, "We're not playing to the standard that the guys before us instilled in us," right? And at CNU, it's like each class basically passed the baton to the next class and say, this is how it's about. This is what CNU basketball is about. This is the standard. This is what it's about. This is how you do it. And like, they just pass the baton down each year. And when me seeing that, cause I came, I was coaching at at Shenandoah, and then I got hired there, and I just saw how they did things. I'm like, whoa, I've never had a player say, kick us out of practice. We're not ready. Right. And like, my head coach, all right, fine. They went to the locker room for like 45 minutes. They came back out. You could tell guys might have been tussling because guys had like, little, the jerseys was ripped a little bit, but like when they came back out, it was night and day. And to me, I just saw like, wow, like we're going to be good because this isn't coach led. This is a player led program. And that year we went to the Final Four. We lost to Swarthmore in the Final Four, but like, we was 29-4. I mean, those guys had an elite, like, what's the word I'm looking for? They had like an elite ability to like hold up the standard that was at CNU, right? Like
Mentality. Yeah. A
and
mentality
like
towards it.
and it was crazy because like, conference games was Wednesday, Saturday. Those guys would be in practice about to kill each other. I would tell coach, "Hey man, can we end practice early? Cause like
Gotta
we play
back
tomorrow,
off.
coach." But like it was crazy. You wouldn't think that we had a game the next day, the way how hard we went. But like when we get to the game, oh man, the games were easy. He was killing people. But that was just the standard, and that was the things, the threshold, and the things that they did there. And for me, seeing that as an assistant coach, now running my own program, it's like I understand and how it is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to feel. So that's what I'm trying to replicate and create here. Is just like now my seniors can give the baton to the juniors, and then they just kind of give it down. And so then like the culture is in a good place, and then they can kind of just build it up, and then you can just kind of build it up and just in the right direction. So that's something that we're striving to do. And I think we've done a good job. Me and my staff have done a great job with that in year 2. Like you can see it's a total shift. We recruited guys from winning programs. We recruited people that wanted to be a RIT to get this type of education. We just done we got different type of kids here that these high academic schools, a lot of kids, they get a bad stigma. It's like, okay, these kids are just playing because, they got into school. But like for me, I wanted to recruit guys who I call them hoopers, like guys that want high level academics and they want to hoop. Like these guys want to play basketball at a high level. And lastly, like I want guys that want to be a part of something. Like I was the type of kid that like, I wanted to go and play for the school that like wasn't winning because I wanted to help them win. Like I didn't want to go to like, I mean, of course I would have went to UNC or Duke, right? But like for me, like I wanted to go to Wake Forest. You know what I mean? Like it was in the ACC, like they won a little bit, but they haven't done nothing. Like that's what kind of fuels me. And for me, like that's the type of kids that I want to recruit. Is just like, you know what? Why can't we put RIT on the map? Why can't RIT be like NYU? Right, we're not in New York City, but why can't we have the same level of basketball program at a place like that? We got the same type resources. They got more students than us, but like, why can't we do it? So that's kind of the mentality of the guys that I recruited and the guys that I have on my team now.
And I love that. I love the way you talked about your program and what you're trying to build there. D3 basketball, it's incredible. The guys that, if there is a stigma, I mean, my son just graduated last spring from high school as a freshman playing at Trinity down in San Antonio. And I've watched some of those guys work out. There's really good players there. And like you said, it's a beautiful mix of the guys that want that high academic and can do that, but they're also hoopers. And you nailed it. They're out there. It's good basketball. But my question to you is that idea of older players passing down the torch of culture to younger players and, and passing moving it forward. Can you still do that in college basketball? And the reason I ask that is Baylor, who's in this town, right, that I'm in, has 0 returning players from last year's team. So it's brand new. So I love that idea. I want to build something like that too. What's that like now though in the landscape of college basketball?
Yeah, I know for us, it's unique because like I got several upperclassmen who live off campus. They got a house. So like the guys go to their house all the time. Like they go over there. I said, "What y'all doing?" Oh, we're they call it the basketball house. We're going to the basketball house. And like that time that they get to spend with each other outside of the court is going to help them on the court because they're getting to know each other. You know, but I think for Division 3, I don't think it's hard just because
Still happen.
you you still have it, but the Division 1 landscape, right? Like I said, I went to Longwood to practice, and I mean they got like 7, 8 new guys, so but I do think what they did was they went on a trip to Orlando. They went on a trip to Orlando during the summer trying to mesh the group to kind of get those guys to be one, and I think that's something a lot of Division 1s. I know you've seen the foreign trips. Every 4 years, you're allowed a foreign trip in the summertime. I think those are really key. I know this summer or next summer, our team is going to Costa Rica. I think that'll do great with retention and also too just the experience, just giving my guys an experience that they're going to always remember. But I think you can replicate it. You're just going to have to be creative. I know the Division 1 is very transactional now with NIL and stuff, but I think, and what my buddy Along was trying to do is he's trying to basically like show guys that the number one thing is we got to love each other, right? If it's genuine love, you're going to go to the ends of the earth for that guy. And that's what he's trying to build there. And I'm sure on the Division 1 world, it's a lot of different people are doing something similar or doing whatever. I think those teams and those coaches who really put a lot of effort into their guys and their experience, I think they reap the benefits of wins because it's like, it's not, some of these coaches are just, hey, look, I'm paying you this money. You need to perform, but like, that's a lot of pressure, right? Like, but if a kid knows, like, look, man, I love you regardless. If you make a shot or miss a shot, oh man, that kid's gonna be way better because there's no pressure on him to perform at a level because he's getting, money or whatever, right? So I think just really giving that belief in guys, and like I said, my high school coach years ago, he did that for me. I was a 6 foot, 140-pound guard, man. I thought I was one of the best guards in the state. And I was a good player, probably wasn't the best player in the state just because we had players like John Wall and guys like that. But, for me, like
Okay.
when I
Yeah.
played, when I played against those guys, like they respect me because like, you know what, man, Dom's good. Like he was going right at us, So for me, you know, I owe that to Coach Kevin Billerman, man. He made me feel like I was like the best player in the state. And being in North Carolina, I mean, it was called the Hoop State for a long time, just because we had good players. But that confidence really propelled me, and it got me a scholarship, and I got to college and I saw like, oh man, I ain't as good as I thought, but I am pretty good. And we ran a good system that was good for my game. So at LMU. But yeah, it's just I went to the right fit, and I had coaches that gave me a chance and believed in me, and I think that's half the battle, man. Like I think a lot of people can do great things, but they just need that one offer or that one chance. Like for me here at RIT, I interviewed for 8 jobs, 8 head jobs. And I got the ninth one. This is
Wow.
the ninth one, right? And I refused to be defeated. Like I didn't let it because some people, I'm not going to apply no more. I didn't get this one. I said, you know what? I wasn't the man for the job. It wasn't meant for me. I'm gonna go on for the next one. And I can honestly say, this RIT interview was my best interview. And honestly, like I got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm in a great spot if I get this job or not. And if I get it, it's a great opportunity for me and my family. But if not, I'm coaching basketball and I'm affecting people's lives in a positive manner. Like that's what I'm here for, right? So it's just like, it wasn't my time yet, but fortunate enough, I got this job and I'm running my own program and it's a dream come true. I could have easily quit after the second or third no, but for me, I just said, you know
Yeah.
what, and like I know you listen to Kobe, have a hit list, all those places that I didn't get it, like I got a hit list. So like,
Schedule them. Schedule them.
and it's teams that we've played, we've beaten them, I crossed them out, but, I just, I was never the biggest, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strongest, but I tried. My dad instilled, he just got have a chip on my shoulder, like, at the end of the day, if people believe that you belong, I mean, that's all, for me, that was all the satisfaction I need. It's like, you know what? He might not be the best, but like he can play, like he can go, So for me, I kind of, I have that coaching mentality, right? Of course, I want to win every game. I probably won't, but at the end of the game, I want to be like, you know what? Dom's teams, and they play hard, man. Like it's tough. Like it's a tough place to play. Like his schemes and stuff like that's all I want to do, And then also too, I want my guys to leave me and be like, I learned something from Coach Dom, and like, he's somebody that I could always call a friend, and I'm super, relationship driven. I'm not transactional at all. I tell kids that I'm recruiting, like, look, man, if they offer you, man, I'll come up there and help you pack and move you in, like it's not about that for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to end up with the right guys that I need, So, um, that's just me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love it, and I really think what you said for coaches that are looking to interview at other places or assistant coaches trying to get head jobs, I believe there's somebody that needed to hear that about all of those, and it's basically reps, all of those reps that you took in those early interviews and the no's, you got better every time that you did that. And I think it goes back to a little bit of what Gannon Baker said, you can't coach what you don't possess. You possess the ability to have a setback and continue to move forward and continue to take chances. I believe because of that, your players are going to play that way as well, which you may get knocked down a possession. You may not shoot the way you want. A game might not go the way we want, but it's just a rep, and we're going to be better for it. And we're going to get that yes at some point, whether individually or as a team. But I think that story you told about all those no's, man, and I can't remember. It was Matt Garnett was saying, I think it's Chris Beard said that it's just a part of our story, and all those no's, man. That's a big part of your story.
100%. And it's funny now, a lot of the jobs that I didn't get, I'm glad I didn't, because I look where I'm at now, and RIT is we got 20,000 kids on campus. We're one of the larger Division III schools in the country. We got a new president who's trying to build, and he got some great ideas, and like, I mean, it's a unique place, and like I said, God, I'm real big on my faith. I feel like God makes no mistakes, and I could have got one of those jobs I went for, and been looking for another one now. So, His
No
timing is
doubt,
everything.
no doubt.
His timing is
Yeah,
everything, and one thing I will say about it too. After my second interview, I wrote down questions that really stumped me. And then what I did is I start gathering all that information. And then one thing I realized after my fourth or fifth interview, I'm like, they're asking the same questions. They're asking the same exact questions. It's just
that's right.
different because the school is different. So I think I like interviewing is like, it's actually a technique to it, right? Like it's not like you just walk in, hey, this is what I'm about. Some guys are really good at that, right? Other people need a lot of practice. For me, I started to see like these ADs are asking the same questions, and for me, it's like I can get better with this. And each AD that told me no, I basically asked them like, what could I get better at? And they told me, and I got better at it. And then, ultimately this ninth one, was the one that I got. So I say that to the listeners, like, don't give up, but also too, like, it's a work in progress. Like there's answers that's going to stump you, but you can get better at them. You can get that
Uh,
question again. So
yeah,
just be ready the next time.
I love that's great advice. And I think too, be yourself as much as you are interviewing for that job. They're also interviewing for you,
Yep.
for you to be happy there. And so if you're not yourself, if you're not really in telling them exactly how you want to build a program and who you are, then both sides may be a little upset if it does move forward. And I'm a believer as well. So again, that coincidence thing, I don't believe in that. And so all of those no's, not a coincidence, setting you up for RIT. I didn't go after my last school. I didn't go through a lot of processes, but I was able to see be myself in one interview where I realized I'm all in on building a basketball program. And what that means is like they need to be okay with that and they need to want that. And I realized this place doesn't want that. And so, but it was good for me to see. And then I come to Midway and it was okay. They are looking for exactly what I think I bring to the table.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I think that's just another piece of it. Know who you are and then make sure that that place wants exactly what you bring. And it sounds like you realize that farther and farther along that, man, these weren't great fits, not just on my end, but for a reason on both. And now look where you are.
100%. And I think you said it best. Just those other places, it wouldn't have been great fits. But here at RIT, I think they want some new ideas. I come from winning, and it's a chance for me to be a head coach. And I think it was a good match. My AD, Jackie Nicholson, she's all about change. And I think, I'm betting on myself. I think she made a good decision. But, like I said, man, it's a process, and timing is everything.
Coach, you mentioned confidence a little bit and how I think you said the players knowing that they love you, that you love them, and that you have their back and you believe in them. Are there other ways that when you see your players' confidence maybe dipping a little bit, are there other ways that you build them up?
Yeah, I think you always got to put life into him, right? Like there's a kid on my team, he's a freshman. I recruited him to shoot. He's, having a tough way of shooting the ball now. And like he's kind of shying away from it. And I'm like, look, man, you're on the court to shoot the ball. Like you a shooter. He looks at me like, you're right. Like I can't shoot, so I think just it's not acting, but like it's kind of like, instilling that confidence that like don't be unsure about yourself. Like you can play. Like you can, what I mean? Like you're here for a reason. And people did that for me. And that's what I do for my players. And you're gonna go through slumps, and I think the one thing I tell guys is like if you go through a slump, man, the best way to get out of it is to get in the gym and get shots up. The best
Yeah.
way to get out of a slump is to shoot your way out of it. So and shooting is all about reps. It's all about, footwork, your reps and stuff like that. And sometimes you might be shooting too slow on your own. You might need to shoot more game shots. You might not need to shoot on the gun because, there's not going to be a big machine out there when you're shooting. You might need to get somebody to pass to you and, move and stuff like that. So, and I try to help my guys and giving them, I can't be in the gym with them all the time, but I try to give them like, look, this is what I would do on your spare time, right? Like you do this, do these things, right? We could talk about it, right? And I think honestly, just piggybacking on what they are. Like, look, man, like you're here for a reason. Like, you did this in high school, man. You was all conference, this and that. Like, just you don't know what you can do to a kid and just people in general if you just give that belief in them, right? Like I'm home, I'm in North Carolina this weekend. My nephew was his birthday, and my dad was on the phone with one of his friends, and he said, man, I'm so proud of you. And he was just like, man, I needed that. And there's something as simple as that can change the course of someone's mindset or their day. So, man, I'm proud of you, man. Keep it up doing what you're doing. Like, these us coaches, we don't know how much power we have that like if we say little things like that, that can get a kid over the hump, it's like, dang, like coach proud of me. Like like so I think always being mindful of what you're saying to guys. One thing about me, I'm a truth teller. So I'm always gonna tell the truth. Like if you're playing bad, I'm like, look, man, you're playing bad, but like you don't need to stay playing bad. So, I think it's just how you say things, when to say them. But at the end of the day, for me, is I always try to lift my guys up. Even if I'm tough on them, I've always I go to the huddle, I give them a chest bump or I give them a high five, like, man, you got this, and it just gives them a little bit more like, okay, coach, you're right, I can do this. So I think that's the best way to do it. And also too, just having a genuine relationship with my guys. Like a lot of my players, they'll come to my office and we don't even talk basketball. We'll talk about the test that counting test that they have or what they're gonna eat in the calf. Or one of my guys come to my office last week and say, coach, I'm going to see my girlfriend this weekend. What should I get her? I'm like, man, I don't know what you 21-year-old, 20-year-olds get people. Like, I don't know. Just take her out to eat, you know what I mean? So I think just being a resource for these guys and knowing like, man, he has my back, not even just for basketball, just like with my life, I think it goes a long way.
And I appreciate you sharing that. And confidence comes from two places. It comes from their preparation and then what they think about. And so you nailed it right there. The first part you said was, are they in the gym getting reps? How are those reps? Are they purposeful? Are they too slow? I think majority of players practice too slow and without pressure. And the
Yep.
gun, as much as I love the gun, it generally they put that level on 4. It needs to be speed 3, at least speed 3. And
Yep.
then and then they got to add some kind of pressure about inner rows or something, or else the gun can become it's better than playing video games. It's better than not being in the gym, but it might be holding them back to making more shots in games. But then you nailed it. After they've done that, assuming that preparation piece is there, remind them of the amazing things that they've done. It's kind of like Bible. David, I think, is one of the best examples of mindset and visualization and reminding himself. So before he kills Goliath, all the other his brothers and all the other Israelites are like, "You're insane. You're going to get killed. You should be afraid." And he said, "What? Why should I be afraid? I've killed lions and I've killed bears before out in the wilderness. This man and with God behind me, there's nothing to fear." But that's visualization. Like as a player going into it, why should I know I'm going to shoot well because of all the time that I put in, and I've done it before. So I think we helped them with that. And then you made a nugget that I wrote down that I need to remember. And I don't know if I was always good about this with my own son, coaching my own son, but we don't need to hold on to compliments. And I think sometimes it's almost like we want to hold on to them and we don't want that player to get a big head or we want him to stay hungry or what. But man, we don't know what goes on at home. They may never get compliments for what they're doing, and this may be the only place where if we see them doing good work and putting in the time, tell them that. Tell them that you're proud of them. Tell them that you see the improvement that they're making. Who knows how much that can help their confidence soar? I don't think coaches can take confidence away, but man, we may be able to speak them into getting it to another level.
100%. So I think that's key. I mean, honestly, that can propel a kid from being just like a role guy to like an impact guy to like an all league guy. It's just the words that we say to these guys and how we say it, and also too, you got to watch film and like you said, prepare and do those things. But I mean, just the things
I
we
don't
say to
lie
our
to them.
guys.
Don't tell them that they're
Yeah.
good at
Oh yeah.
something that they're not good at. That's not,
hundred
you
percent.
said it. You got to tell the truth. Yeah.
But I think the way we talk to our guys could really change their whole outlook on their whole
Yeah.
season and their careers.
Coach, before I let you go, this is the speed round, and you and I don't know each other really well. I know you better now after our hoops talk, but Coach, after the speed round, I'll really know you, and all your guys from North Carolina or New York now are going to know you even better.
Perfect, perfect.
All right, ready? Favorite ice cream flavor,
Cookies and cream.
greatest shooter of all time.
JJ Redick.
So I'm guessing, are you a Duke fan?
Oh no 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 no, not a Duke fan. UNC fan for sure. But I got to give credit where
Okay,
credit's
I
due.
grew up in Pennsylvania, but I was a Duke fan. In fact, Wojo, I used to go to Duke basketball camp when I was young, and Wojo was my favorite player back in the day. I thought if Steve Wojciechowski can play at Duke, I could play at Duke, even though that never happened. But that's okay. I just thought since you chose JJ that there may be a
No,
Duke tie.
no, no. Now the only tie I got to Duke is like I said, my high school teammate Ryan Kelly played at Duke, so I rooted for Duke when he was there. But I'm a UNC
Yeah.
fan.
I enjoyed watching him. I remember him. I remember watching him really well. A pretty cerebral player. Didn't
Yep.
pass the eye test, but man, pretty good player.
Oh man, he was phenomenal. I mean, he was really good. He was a McDonald's All-American. I mean, he could shoot it. He was athletic,
Yeah.
he was skilled, high IQ. He was good.
Do you stand up or sit down more in games?
Stand up, stand
Active.
up.
You're moving all.
It
If you're
depends.
going to be
It
pressing
depends
and
on
defending, yeah,
yeah. So I'm telling guy, hey, look, ball screen, this and that. So yeah, I'm on the court with him sometimes.
top 3 dinner guests any time period.
Top 3 dinner guests. That's a great question. I would say number 1 would be Dean Smith. Number 2 would be Jim Valvano.
Oh yeah.
And number three, probably be my mom. My mom passed away about 8 years ago. So I would love to sit down and the kind of see how things will be happening, things like that. So probably
It's
my
a good
mom for
dinner.
sure.
That's a good dinner. Best basketball movie of all time.
She can go a lot of different ways. Me personally, I would have to say Above the Rim.
Yes. Awesome. Coach, question for you. Does playing ball without a ball actually make you better?
That's a good question. It did for
Do you know
Shep.
what I'm
Shep,
talking about?
yeah, yeah,
Shep
yeah,
and his
yeah. Shep.
brother. He's playing ball without a ball.
Not a ball. No, it's a classic. When I was in high school, I used to watch it before every home game. I would go home and I would watch it. Cal Washington, trying to get an offer. I felt like I was trying to be like Cal,
He
trying
did
to,
that behind the back spin move every
Yep.
time. Every time. Oh, and then Shep comes with the khakis and just torches them at the end. Incredible. All right, I'm in Texas where there's no shot clock in high school, but for high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Shot clock, shot clock. It's a game changer, and that's what they're going to get
Man,
to.
coach, we got good basketball down here. The 5A, 6A level, 4A level in this state, it's pretty incredible. Houston,
Oh
Dallas, I mean, all over, and we need a shot clock.
yeah, I thought Texas had one. That's I did. Yeah, North Carolina doesn't
Well,
have one,
there's
but
one. Is it on the way?
no, it's there's not one in North Carolina.
Oh,
There is one in New York, so that's good. Because up in New
yeah.
York, um, yeah. So it's you got to get everybody has to get it.
Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving,
Good one. What book would you give someone?
probably Toughness by Jay Billis. That's a good book. I worked his camps the last three summers, and I got a couple
Nice.
copies of it, but it's a good book.
How
He's
how
very
is it? How
knowledgeable.
is it work in those camps? Is that a really good experience? Because a little different. You got to you have to pay to work it, right? I mean, and that's
No,
or that's
no.
that's
So he actually has certain types. There's just three camps in one. So us Division III head coaches, we run the camp, right? So high school
okay.
players are playing, and then it's called a CDP, Coaches Development Program. So guys that's like dobos, high school coaches, they basically learn to how to be an assistant from us. And then the other part of his camp is for Division I assistants, where Division I assistants that's on a trajectory to be a Division I head coach. They come in and he has different speakers. I mean, I think it's unreal. I've been doing it the last 3 summers. I learn a lot. I mean, coaches like Josh Merkel from Randolph-Macon, who's a national champion. John Kokorian, my old boss, is a national champion. John Baines, who's at Elmhurst. I mean, it's some high-level guys that work this camp. And like for me to be in the same rooms as them and being able to pick their brains, I mean, I'm sad that the camp is done. I don't think he's doing it anymore, but I mean
Oh,
it's
really?
high level. Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that last year was the last one. So, and you got kids from
Missed
all
my
over the
chance.
country.
Yeah. Um, favorite place to travel?
Man, probably probably Orlando, Florida. Orlando, Florida. Especially being in upstate New York, it's super cold, so it's hot down there. You got Disney World. I got a 16-month-old. She loves it. My wife loves it. So
You have real winters up there, and I lived in Pennsylvania until I was 14. I remember real winters down here. Coach, they cancel school if they think ice is coming. And then
yeah.
it's sunny out the next day. We're just sitting at home and they're like, "Oh, the ice storm." I was like, "I remember the blizzard of 93." Yeah, you don't understand what you're talking about.
No, that was the one big difference for us is just like it was for 6 months, it was snow on the ground here. So but the roads and everything everything's intact, like everything's great, but it's just
They
snow
know
on the
how to
ground.
handle it up there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Last one, coach, in basketball as a player, who's the GOAT?
Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan. I mean, and it's a big debate.
Good answer.
My players tell me all LeBron James is all-time leading scorer, but like I think Michael Jordan changed the game, to what it is today. So I'm a big Mike guy.
Just watch The Last Dance. Watch The
Uh,
Last Dance, and I
uh,
just don't see how anybody could think different.
100%. That's the best basketball documentary in a long time. So that's a good one.
Coach, this was awesome, man. I mean, to go from no relationship at all to having over an hour with you and just really appreciate what you shared about building your program. I'm a fan. I'm going to be rooting you guys on, and just, man, really appreciate your time.
No, thank you, man. And one thing about it, like I say, Texas is an area that we recruit. So if you got any guys who, you know, engineers, future engineers, computer science guys, we got 90 different majors, so we have everything. But Texas is an area that we really, really want to tap into because it's good. Like you said, it's a good ball down there. The times I've been to Texas, I was very, very impressed with the level of talent from every position. AAU and the high school team. So definitely want to, and one thing about it, we have a decent budget. I'll fly to Texas a couple of days. We can grab lunch or something. I can maybe come see it to a practice, man. I would love to do that.
Let's go, Coach. If you're Waco's only about an hour and a half or so from Dallas Fort Worth Airport, and
Yep.
there's a lot of schools around here, and I would love to have you anytime you come down. But like I said, I'll be watching this year, and just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.